In the, I guess, more serious quarterbacking world right now, the NFL and Deshaun Watson are having a sit-down confab about his 22 civil cases right now. That's happening this week?
It's happening this week, and they've got to make a decision. And they've got to understand that there's a timeline that's created by the procedure that the NFL adopted in 2020. It's kind of a sandwich between the commissioner, an outside person, and the commissioner. The league will propose a suspension. There's an independent disciplinary officer hired and paid jointly by the league and the union that will investigate, presumably have a hearing, issue a decision on what suspension or discipline, if any, there will be. Then the commissioner has the exclusive appeal jurisdiction, which means he can, in theory, as long as there's any discipline imposed on Deshaun Watson. Let's say the league says we want to put – I'm just throwing out an example here for illustration. Mm-hmm. Let's say the league says we want him out for a whole year. Disciplinary officer says, it's one game. The commissioner on appeal can say, it's a year, and that's it. Final binding, boom, bang the gavel, and see you later, Deshaun Watson. But whatever plays out, it's going to take time. I think they're setting this up for next Friday, Memorial Day weekend, little bad news dump on the 3-day weekend, what they propose the punishment to be, and then the disciplinary officer would kick in after that, and this all gets wrapped up by Labor Day weekend. So everyone will know whether or not he's going to be playing week one, or if not week one, when he'll be back.
That's your timeline for this thing, huh?
I think it makes sense. They got to start doing something at some point. The NFL doesn't like to make a decision, Rich, until it has to. But at some point, the mere fact of delay is the mistake. I know they don't want to step in it by doing something prematurely, but at some point you have to know when you need to move. And I think they owe it to the Browns, to the Browns fans, to the opponents who have to figure out who are we going to be facing, and also to those 7 sportsbook partners out there that like to put the Browns back on the board. We don't have the Browns futures bets. We'd like to make a little money off the people that want to put some money on the Browns, either to make the playoffs or not, to win over or under whatever their win total is going to be. They're off the board on that. There's no win total for the Browns yet because we don't know who the quarterback's going to be.
But does the league and has everything been does the league know everything? Is the overarching question, and let me backfill a little bit with you, Mike Florio. And have all the depositions between Watson and his accusers taken place? Because if I'm the NFL, last thing I want to do is make a determination, start this entire process that you just talked about, and then find out something in one of those depositions that makes my ruling or the league's ruling look lenient. And a perfect example is what I read on your site through your Twitter account at Pro Football Talk, that there of an excerpt from one of the depositions, the first accuser of Deshaun Watson, and Deshaun Watson admitting, he did send her a text to apologize because he saw her tearing up after their massage, hoping that he's sending a text saying, I hope you can still work. We can still work together again. And of course, that leaves a question of anybody who's reading this saying, what happened to make somebody cry, and him to acknowledge it through a text because it was so obvious? That's what I'm saying. I mean, is this all done? Does the NFL know everything in time for next Friday?
And that's a great point. They're not going to know everything until the 22 cases are resolved. And if they go to trial, it's going to take every bit of next offseason and beyond. You're talking about 22 different cases, 22 different juries, 22 different plaintiffs packed into an offseason. Good luck scheduling 22 trials, assuming that they aren't settled. And he could have settled 18 of them last year. The Dolphins wanted all 22 to be settled before they would trade for him. 18 were ready to go, 4 held out, and Watson decided to not settle any unless he could settle all. I think in hindsight, he probably, if he were being candid, would say, it would have been nice to knock this group of 22 cases down to 4 cases, a little easier to manage. But, Rich, because of what you said, that's why I think there's a chance that what they'll do is make a decision on punishment based on what they already know, what has been admitted, what they learned from their conversations with the accusers and with Watson, what he admits to, what he doesn't. Remember, Rusty Hardin, his lawyer, admitted last year that some of these massage therapy sessions he would line up via Instagram would become consensual sexual encounters. That may be enough for the league to say, we're troubled by this pattern of behavior. We think intervention is required. A lot of the reasoning that applied to Ben Roethlisberger back in 2010 when he got suspended 6 games reduced to 4 with no arrests, with no charges, with civil cases eventually settled. I think what they could do is suspend him a certain amount now and leave the door open for the possibility, based upon how the civil cases go and how they're resolved and what the verdicts are or aren't, to take action again later. They kind of did that with Antonio Brown in 2020. He was suspended 8 games for a variety of off-field misdeeds. He still had a pending civil lawsuit alleging that he had engaged in sexual assault and rape, and they said, we're going to leave the door open pending what happens here. So I think it's kind of a mixed bag. It's kind of a half measure, but I think it makes sense. It deals with what they know now, and it leaves the door open to deal with what they may learn later.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.